Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really cool. We are going to decode the invisible waves all around us and uncover the sheer mathematical magic inside our modern devices. If you've ever found yourself wondering how the tech we rely on every single day actually makes sense of such a chaotic universe, well, you're exactly in the right place. Let's get right into it. Think about this for a second. How on earth does your phone separate your specific voice from a super noisy, crowded room? Because out in the real world, every single sensor, microphone, and communication device is capturing signals that are just inherently messy. They're noisy, chaotic, and honestly incredibly difficult to interpret right out of the gate. And that's exactly where signal processing comes in. It's an entire branch of electrical engineering completely dedicated to solving this very problem, extracting actual, meaningful information from all that real-world chaos. So, to figure out how this works, here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at the messy real world, the magic of FFT, filtering out the noise, the digital bridge, and finally, signal processing in action. All right, let's jump in. Starting right off with part one, the messy real world and the overwhelming noise of reality. You know, signals have this fascinating duality to them. Naturally, we experience life moment by moment. That is the time domain. It's how we observe a signal's value changing over time, like listening to sound or measuring voltage. But a signal's true DNA, that is actually hidden in what we call the frequency domain. Instead of moments in time, the frequency domain shows us the underlying repeating oscillations that make up that exact same signal. It turns out pretty much any complex signal you can think of can be broken down into a combination of really simple sine waves, all with different frequencies, amplitudes, and phases. Which brings us to part two, the magic of FFT, or as I like to think of it, our ultimate decoder ring. That decoder ring I just mentioned, it's called the Fourier Transform, named after the brilliant French mathematician Joseph Fourier. It's the mathematical tool that takes any crazy complex signal and shatters it into simple, manageable pieces. But here's the catch. Doing that math by hand for millions of data points? Yeah, not happening. It is totally impractical. Enter the Fast Fourier Transform, or FFT. This is a highly efficient computational algorithm custom-built to calculate this frequency breakdown on digital computers. It is such a game changer that it's frequently cited as one of the most important algorithms of the entire 20th century. I mean, we use it for audio processing, digital communications, and it even played a crucial role in literally helping verify the nuclear test ban treaty. Absolutely wild, right? To really wrap our heads around this, just think of a musical chord. It's the perfect way to visualize it. When someone plays a chord, your ear hears one unified, complex sound. That's the time domain. But if you take that sound and run it through the fast Fourier transform algorithm on a computer, it instantly cracks it open. It reveals all the distinct combined notes, the individual frequencies that actually make it up. So suddenly, what was just a messy clump of data becomes a crystal clear recipe of individual ingredients. Now that we can see those ingredients, we need part three, filtering out the noise, effectively our digital cleanup crew. Once we can actually isolate all those distinct frequencies, we have to manipulate them. We need to keep what we want and toss what we don't. Engineers do this using four distinct types of filters. First up, we have the low-pass filter. Just like it sounds, it allows the low frequencies to pass on through while blocking all the high frequencies above a certain cutoff point. Then you have the high-pass filter, which does the exact opposite, blocks the lows, lets the highs through. Pretty straightforward. Then we get to the band-pass filter. This one is a bit more selective. It acts kind of like a bouncer at a club, only allowing a very specific range of frequencies to pass, and blocking everything else above and below that desired range. And finally, the notch filter. This one is incredibly precise. Its whole job is to remove one very narrow, specific frequency. Now you might be wondering, why on earth would we need to surgically remove just one single narrow frequency? Well, the numbers 50 and 60 hold the answer. That highly specific notch filter is famously used as a weapon against the ultimate audio nemesis, the super annoying 50 or 60 Hz electrical hum. That hum is everywhere, leaking into so many systems just from the ambient power grid. By dropping a notch filter exactly at 50 or 60 Hz, engineers can just magically delete that hum without messing up the rest of the audio or data signal. So how do we actually go about building these filters? Well, there are two main paths. Traditionally, we used analog filters. These are built using physical hardware components in the real world, things like resistors, capacitors, and inductors. But today, we also have digital filters, which are essentially just software running on processors.
Because digital filters are literally just lines of code crunching digital numbers, they offer way more flexibility and precision than physical analog parts. And that is exactly why digital filters completely dominate modern signal processing today.
But to use that code, we have to cross over in part 4, the digital bridge and the art of sampling signals.
You see, to actually use those digital filters, we have to pull the analog real world into our computers, and we do that through a process called sampling. It's basically converting a continuous analog signal into discrete digital values. But here's the thing, you cannot just sample at some random speed. You have to follow the Nyquist theorem. This is the crucial rule that dictates exactly how fast a computer has to take these samples. It states that a signal must be sampled at least twice as fast as its highest frequency component if you ever want to accurately reconstruct it later. It isn't just a suggestion, it's a hard, undeniable mathematical law of signal processing.
And if you break that rule, well, you are going to encounter the absolute danger of aliasing. Sampling below the Nyquist rate creates this really nasty distortion. High frequencies actually get incorrectly represented inside the computer as false, lower frequencies. It completely corrupts your digitized signal. To stop this from happening, engineers use vital anti-aliasing filters. Think of them as physical analog bodyguards, usually low-pass filters, that are put in place before the sampling even begins. They guarantee that no frequency higher than half your sample rate ever makes it to the digital converter.
And that perfectly sets up our final section, Part 5, Signal Processing in Action, where we look at the real-world impact of all this math. When you combine FFT and filtering, engineers suddenly have the tools to make sense of virtually any real-world signal, no matter how chaotic or noisy it is. I mean, this math underlies practically every modern communication tech you use. It's what extracts your voice on a mobile phone call, stabilizes your home Wi-Fi, and locks onto satellites in space. But it goes way beyond just talking to each other. It's absolutely essential in medical devices, isolating incredibly delicate, life-saving signals, like subtle heart rhythms or brainwaves, from massive amounts of background noise. Or take mechanical engineering. Predictive maintenance uses FFT to analyze vibrations. Engineers can literally look at a frequency signature and detect early mechanical faults inside rotating machinery long before the machine actually breaks. It is everywhere.
Which leaves us with this final, really fascinating thought. If math can decode the hidden frequencies of our noisy world so beautifully, what secrets will we uncover when we actually build the physical circuits to harness them? Keep that question in mind, because in our next explainer, we are going to move from these invisible signals over to physical reality, covering PCB design and the basics of embedded systems. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the frequency domain, and I'll catch you next time.